Welcome, guys. Today we are going to start chapter number 3, that is religious synthesis. Now, let's get started. The diversity of the languages and religions is an important characteristic of an Indian society. So, for an Indian society, diversity of languages, that is different languages, and religion is a important characteristic. So now we are going to see why it is an important characteristic in this whole chapter, because the chapter is talking about religious synthesis. Is meaning, synthesis is basically mix, right? Mix of faith, ideas, and mix of culture. So this chapter will be giving us an example about uh, various things that happened, and how religious synthesis was an important part of our Indian society. So, considering this feature, Indian constitution has adopted the principle of secularism. So, because of this religious synthesis that was seen in our Indian society, when our constitution was adopted, they have adopted on the basis of principle of secularism. In medieval India too, attempts to bring about religious synthesis in social life were made on the basis of this principle. Secularism is basically uh, including every religion, respecting every religion, and every idea is about secularism. Now, in the medieval India, attempts to bring about religious synthesis in social life were made on the basis of this principle. Among these efforts, the Bhakti movement, Sikhism, and the Sufi sect have a significant place. So, for the religious synthesis in the medieval India, Bhakti movement played an important role, Sikhism played an important role, the Sufi sect played an important role. These different streams of thoughts arose in different parts of India. So these different stream of thoughts, they arose in different parts of India. They emphasized harmony between the different sects. So there should be harmony between different sects and religions, along with devotion to the God. So these were some of the important uh, conclusions of this Bhakti movement, Sikhism, and the Sufi sect. These different stream of thought arose in different parts of India. They emphasized harmony between different sects and religions. So they basically wanted peace between different religion, different people following different religion, along with devotion to God. Ultimately, every religion basically talks about God, and that's why uh, they wanted to have a harmony between different sects, right? Initially, rituals and Brahma Jnana were greatly emphasized in Indian religion. So, in Indian religion, rituals and Brahma Jnana were greatly emphasized. In medieval period, they gave way to Bhakti Marg. So, so in medieval period, that is between 8th uh, century to 18th century, they gave way to Bhakti Marg. Now, what is this Bhakti Marg? Basically, we are going to see. So, what is this Bhakti Marg? Basically, the path of devotion, right? Devotion to God. Basically, it is talking about. Bhakti Marg did not give undue importance to hierarchies. So, undue importance to hierarchy means basically which further facilitated religious synthesis. Right? Hierarchy means one above the other. Right? It didn't give importance to hierarchy. Like this religion is uh, in the upper range, or this religion is good, or this religion is bad. So it didn't give this undue importance to hierarchies. In these different regions of India, we find different forms of path of devotion according to the local situation. Now, different in different parts, different forms of devotion were observed. The Bhakti movement used the common people language instead of Sanskrit. So this is very important question, because at that time Sanskrit language was very prevalent, but a lot of people didn't understand the Sanskrit languages. But the Bhakti movement was specially designed in such a way that common people shall also understand, and that's why local languages were used instead of Sanskrit languages to convey a proper message which people will be able to understand easily. This helped the development of regional languages. Now, that's how the development of regional languages took place. Now, development of regional languages was even more effective after the introduction of the Bhakti movement, which used common languages to instead of Sanskrit, which was very easy to understand for common people. Now, what is this Bhakti movement? This paragraph is talking about what this Bhakti movement is all about. Now, it is believed that Bhakti movement originated in South India. Now, this is a very important fact. Bhakti movement was originated in South India. So, where was the origin of Bhakti movement? Basically, it was in southern part of India. The Nayars and Alwars Bhakti movement emerged in this region. So, which two Bhakti movement emerged in this region? In southern India, Nayars and Alwar. Bhakti movements emerged in this region. Nayars were devotees of Shiva, and the Nayars were devotees of Shiva basically, and Alvars were devotees of Vishnu. Now, there were also attempts to consider Shiva and Vishnu as well. So, as you can see here, the religious synthesis, which this chapter is all about, it is talking about Shiva and Vishnu as one entity, right? And this is how you can see that religious synthesis is already taking place in the medieval India. So, as one and the same, and bring them together. So this is what religious synthesis is about. They wanted to bring them together. Harihar idols, which depict half Vishnu and half Shiva, were produced in this period on large scale. Right? People belonging to all social strata had participated in this bhakti movement. So this is very important, guys. People belonging to all social strata. All social strata basically means different castes, different languages, people following different languages, different castes, different ideas. They were also a part of this bhakti movement. So this movement was basically trying to unite all the people of different sects, different religion, different languages, different ideologies together. That's why this bhakti movement is very important. They preached values like love of God, humanity, compassion, mercy, etc. So these were the values that were preached by the people of the Bhakti movement, that is love of God, humanity, compassion, mercy, etc. Ramanuja and other acharyas strengthened the base of the Bhakti movement. So now there is a this personality known as Ramanuja, and some acharyas strengthened the base of the Bhakti movement in southern India. So in southern India, Ramanuja was the main personality who strengthened the Bhakti movement. They told people that God is for all. So this was the important message from them: God is for all. God does not discriminate. God does not discriminate. So there is no discrimination, upper or lower, lower kind of people for God. God considers everyone as equals. So God does not discriminate. The teachings of Ramanuja had a great impact in North India also. So in Northern India, the Ramanujan's teaching had a great impact. He was a prominent figure in Southern India in the Bhakti movement, also in Northern India also. Saint Sant Ramanand strengthened the Bhakti movement in Northern India. So in Northern India, Sant Ramanand who strengthened the Bhakti movement. Sant Kabir is well known saint in the Bhakti movement. So there was another sant known as Sant Kabir. So these sant are very important for uh, knowing the bhakti movement. These sant were basically trying to strengthen the bhakti movement. Basic bhakti movement is basically preaching to God, preaching to God, and learning about good qualities, that God-like behavior. So these were very crucial sant who strengthened the Bhakti movement in specific areas like in northern India and southern India. Sant Kabir is well-known sant in Bhakti movement. He did not attach any importance to places of pilgrimage. So this is very important factor. He does not give an importance to the places of pilgrimage, or we can say vratas or idol worship. Like when we go to temple, we preach to the god, and so he did not attach any importance to this idol worship. Idol worship is basically when we worship the stone image of a god. For him truth was god, so for him truth was god. So he taught that all human beings are equal. So basically his teaching was all human beings are equal. He did not believe in any differences based on caste, creed, sect, religion. So this is very important. Sant Kabir did not believe any differences based on caste, creed, religion. He wanted to bring about Hindu-Muslim unity, and this was the person who wanted to bring about Hindu-Muslim unity. He criticized the extremely orthodox people in both Hindu and Muslim religion in strong terms. So he criticized extremely orthodox people. What is extremely orthodox people? Basically, who have extreme opposition to another religion. So some people of a particular Hindu religion will have some strong opposition to another Muslim religion, or some Muslim religion people have opposition to Hindu religion. So he criticized these people, right? So this is the image of Sant Kabir. He was a main figure of a Bhakti movement. Now in Bengal, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu underlined the importance of Krishna Bhakti. So in Bengal, basically in the uh, northwest eastern part of India, in Bengal, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu underlined the importance of Krishna Bhakti. Due to his teaching, people joined the Bhakti movement, right? So due to his teaching, he was a well-known Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Bengal, right? In Bengal. So he underlined the importance of Krishna Bhakti. Due to his teaching, people joined the Bhakti movement in transcending the boundaries of caste creed. So, why people joined this Bhakti movement? Because people didn't want this caste and creed discrimination. People wanted to feel like one, because there was so much discrimination. There was so much upper caste, lower caste, all that kind of thing. Under his influence, Shankar Deva spread the Bhakti movement in Assam. So this is one of the again another personality, that is Shankaradeva spread the Bhakti movement in Assam. Narsi Mehta was renowned Vaishnava Sant in Gujarat. So different region, in different region, different sons came, and they started preaching God in Bhakti movement, so as to let people understand what kind of a ideology they wanted to have, or what kind of ideology people should have. They wanted to convey that ideology to with the help of God to them. He gave the message of equality. Now he is known as the first poet of Gujarati language. Now he was the first poet of Gujarati language. Sant Mirabai stressed the importance of devotion to Krishna. Now, the another personality here is Sant Mirabai. Importance of devotion to Krishna. Now, why all these people are talking about God and religious synthesis? Because they didn't want any discrimination or any division between the people of India. Why? Because when we are divided, then somebody will easily control your thoughts, your emotions can be manipulated. That's why these sant they knew that religious synthesis will bring in the name of God, we can bring people together of different languages, different ideologies together. That's why this son stays important to devotion of God. She belonged to the royal family of Mewar. Now, here is some personal information about Sant Mirabai. She was a royal family of Mewar. She renounced all pleasure of royal family and immersed herself in devotion of Krishna. She composed devotional verses in Rajasthani. Uh, as you know, Mewar is in Rajasthan and Gujarati also. Her devotional verses give the message of devotion, tolerance, and humanity. Sant, now another Sant is there. Sant Sena was an influenced Sant. Now this Sant Rohidas was a great son. He gave the message of equality and humanity. So basically, all the sons are basically preaching God, and they are saying that everybody is equal, nobody is above or below, and we should consider humanity before any religion. Humanity is one and only religion. So basically, all sants were saying these things. Sant Rohidas was a great sant. He gave the message of equality and humanity. Now, Surdas, a great poet of Hindi literature, composed the poetical work Sur Sagar. Now, what is this Sur Sagar? A devotion to Krishna. Krishna Bhakti is the subject of his work. So, this was the subject of his work, devotion to Krishna. So he was a poet, Surdas. The verses on Krishna Bhakti composed by the Muslim son Rash Khan are melodious. Ramcharitramanas of Sant Tulsidas is a beautiful composition expressing the devotion to Rama. So these were some of the books, poems, or you know literature that was written uh, in the period of Bhakti movement in medieval India to express devotion to God by various sons. Right? In Karnataka, Mahatma Basveshwar spread the Lingayat stream of thoughts. Now, what is this Lingayat stream of thought? He opposed caste system and stressed the dignity of labor. Now, uh, this in Karnataka, Mahatma Basveshwar, important personality, he opposed the caste system there and stressed the dignity of labor. Right? So every labor has his dignity. That's what his message was. Because at that time people were treating laborers or workers with very harsh treatment was there. That's why he said dignity of labor is also to be considered. Kaya Kave Kalidas is his well-known saying, which means work is Kalidas. So this was Mahatma, this personality, Mahatma Vashishar, he said work is worship. He encouraged women participation in the movement. Now, this is an important. Mahatma Vashishar encouraged women participation in the movement. So, this was the first personality of the Bhakti movement who encouraged a woman's participation in this movement. Men and women belonging to all castes began to participate in the religious discussion conducted in the hall Anubhava Manpata. So, men and women belonging to all castes began to participate in the religious discussion. Right? Mahatma Bashveshwar conveyed his teaching in the language of the people. Example, Kannada, through the medium of Vachana literature. So Mahatma Basveshwar, through the Kannada language, uh, he spread his teaching. So he conducted various reading sessions, that is Vachana literature. His work had a great impact on a society. His followers have composed their work in Marathi also. So in Marathi language also, we can find the literature of Mahatma Bashveshwar. Now, of these compositions, Paramhans, composed by Manmath Swami, is a very well known. So this composition Paramarahasya, composed by Manmat Swami is very well known. Paramarahasya is very well known by Manmat Swami. Great Sant in Karnataka include Pam Purandarasa Purandardasa, and others. They composed many devotional verses in Kannada. So these were some verses, devotional verses, prayers to the God, and some instruction about religious teachings or path, or righteous path were conveyed through some texts. Mahanubhav Pant. Now this is another personality, Mahanubhav Pant. Now we'll see about this personality, Mahanubhav Pant. So in the 13th century, Chakradhar Swami founded the Mahanubhav Panth in Maharashtra. So what is this Mahanubhav Panth? Now we are going to study. This sect preaches devotion to Krishna. Now as you can see here, the information about Mahanubhav Panth. What is this Mahanubhav Panth? This was a sect uh, who preaches devotion to Krishna. So set of people following certain religious deity like Krishna. Sri Govinda Prabhu was the guru of Chakradhar Swami. So this is some factual information about Chakradhar Swami. Govinda Prabhu taught Chakradhar Swami. The followers of Chakradhara included man and woman belonging to all caste and creed. So as you can see here, this is the photo of Chakradhar Swami. He supported equality. Now all of these sons supported equality. He traveled to all parts of Maharashtra preaching in Marathi. So why all these sons supported equality? Because uh, in that period, in 13th century, on in medieval India, 13th century, lots of inequality was prevalent in the society. Everybody was divided, especially on language, caste, religion, etc. That's why uh, the important part of these sons was to convince people that we are all equal. Uh, she traveled to all parts of Maharashtra preaching in Marathi. So this is very important prominent personality in Maharashtra, Chakradhar Swami. He traveled to all parts of Maharashtra preaching in Marathi. Because why Marathi? Because Marathi was understood back then, and Sanskrit was not understood to many people in the villages. That's why Marathi was used as a language for preaching. He preferred Marathi instead of Sanskrit. This led to development of Marathi language. Now, this is how Marathi language spread at that time in 13th century, because Sanskrit was hard to understand. Many works were composed in Marathi. This sect mainly spread in the Vidarbha. Now, this is very factual data that Vidarbha region was mainly covered by this sect, Chakradhar Swami. Mahanubhav Panth was the name of the sect, and in Marathwada region also, right? Riddhipur in Vidarbha. Riddhipur in Vidarbha is an important place for the people of this sect. This sect had reached. Now let us see where Riddhipur is. Now, as you can see, so at that time, Riddhipur was a place. Nowadays, the names have been changed. Riddhipur in Vidarbha is an important place for people of this sect. This sect has reached up to far away regions like Punjab and Afghanistan. Now, this sect had a far away reach from Punjab to Afghanistan also. So Mahanubhav Panth sect reached uh, uh, distant land also. Now this is activity. Do you know some of the main composition of the following Mahanubhav Panth are the treatise Leela Charitra compiled by Bambhar, describing the deeds of Chakradhar Swami Dhavale, of the first Marathi poetess Mahadamba Sutrapath Trish- Trishtantapad, compiled by Keshabas Pachaharan of Damodar Pandit, Sri Shupalvada of Bhaskar Bhat, Porikar Rukmani, Swayamvara of Narendra. So these were some compositions of Manava Pan. Now there is another activity, a conversation between a Hindi and Muslim written by Sant Eknath is important from the viewpoint of religious harmony. The famous quote of Sant Sheikh Mohammed is an example of this religious harmony. So this is the quote Sheikh Mohammed with त्याचे हृदय गोविंद. So this is the quote is an example of religious harmony. Now the another personality Guru Nanak. So now we have seen that the first part was about the Bhakti movement. Here the Bhakti movement ends and Sikhism starts. Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak was the founder of Sikhism and the first Guru of Sikhs. His work has to be mentioned as a great attempt at religious synthesis. He visited holy places of both Hindus and Muslims. So this is Guru Nanak, the the first Guru of Sikhs. This is Guru Nanak, first Guru of Sikhs. He had also visited Mecca. He realized that feeling of devotion is common everywhere. Now he realized that devotion, that is devotion to God, is common everywhere. He taught that all persons should be treated equally. His teaching aimed at achieving Hindu-Muslim unity. So he wanted Hindu-Muslim unity. He emphasized chaste behavior. Chaste behavior basically. Now we will see what is this chaste behavior. So refraining from sexual intercourse that is regarded as a contrary to morality or religion. So this was the chaste behavior. Many people were influenced by teaching of Guru Nanak. Number of his followers increased day by day. The followers of Guru Nanak are known as Sikhs, right? Shikyas, meaning disciples. Disciples. The Adi Grantha, also known as the Guru Granth Sahib, is the holy book of Sikhs. So just remember this: Guru Granth Sahib is a holy book of the people following Sikhism. The Adi Grantha includes composition by Guru Nanak, Sant Namdev, Sant Kabir, and other sons. Guru Nanak was succeeded by 9 Gurus. After Guru Nanak, there were 9 Sikh Gurus, and Guru Gobind Singh was the 10th Guru of Sikhs. After Guru Gobind Singh, Sikh regarded Guru Granth Sahib as their Guru. Now, after Guru Gobind Singh, so after Guru Nanak, he was the first Guru of Sikh. He was a personality, a person. Now, after Guru Nanak, 9 other Gurus were there, but the 10th Guru, that is Guru Gobind Singh, uh, uh, Guru Gobind Singh transferred this power of Guru to the book called Guru Granth Sahib. Now, Guru Granth Sahib, there will be no Guru, uh, a person as a Guru, but a book will be a Guru. A book will be a Guru. That's why he named Guru Granth Sahib. So, Sikhs regard Guru Granth Sahib as their Guru as per the order of Guru Gobind Singh. Now, Sufi sect. Now, the third part we come into is a Sufi sect. This is a sect in Islam. So, let us learn what is first sect. So sect is basically a group of people who have a particular set of religious political beliefs. So that is what the meaning of sect is. This is a sect in Islam. So Sufi sect is basically a sect in Islam. Right? The Sufi saint believed that God is full of love and the only way to reach him is through love and devotion. Their main teaching for are love for all living beings, meditation, simple living. Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, Sheikh Nizamuddin Awliya were great Sufi saints. So these were the names of Sufyan: Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti and Sheikh Nizamuddin Awliya. The teaching of Sufi saints led to the unity of Hindu and Muslim communities. So at that in the medieval era also and in the modern era also, there is a lot of division going on between Hindus and Muslims. So, but this book talks about from earlier days also the attempt was made to unite both the communities. Sufi music has made valuable contribution in India. Nowadays also Sufi music is very much prevalent in the society, modern society. The path of the bhakti taught by the sun was easy to follow for the common people. Now, the conclusion of this whole chapter is the path of the bhakti was very easy to follow for the common people, right? Why it was easy to follow? Because instructions were already in the language that the people understood. Instruction were not in the Sanskrit language. The Bhakti movement was open to all men and women, so there was no discrimination between man and woman. The Sant expressed their thoughts in the language of people. So language of people. So that's why it was very easy to understand for the people. The common people found them close to their heart. The Bhakti movement had contributed greatly to the making of Indian culture. So, because of the Bhakti movement in the medieval period, that is from 8th century to 18th century, it led to the foundation of a good Indian culture. Now, this is some exercise. Write the related words, make the chart to show the people and work related to them, like Bhakti movement, who were the sant related with this, who were the personalities related with Mahanubhavan, who are the personalities related with Sikhism. Write about it in your own words. These were some short notes about Bhakti movement, impact of Mahatma Vashveshwar work on our society. Now this is a final activity. Obtain a devotional song in the tradition of Sufi music and present it in a cultural program. Very interesting and very innovative activities. Promoting art and culture. So thank you for listening to this lecture. So in the next chapter, chapter number 4, we will see Maharashtra before the times of Shivaji Maharaj. Thank you.